So we have 645.58 in stabilization, and then what we call the landfill stabilization account. We had the 202.446, and then we have the $94,000 that we had taken out for the Civil War monument that we received the grant for, so we'll put that back in. So you add those three together, and you get 941,504 will be our stabilization number. And then all we have is the warrant stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we have about 60 warrant items to go through, so I don't think you want us to start that and then
It
be
sounds
here till...
fascinating, but maybe
Yeah.
we should
Yeah.
just start.
You know, I get it before it gets dark out here, so...
Yeah.
But,
Does it really sound fascinating?
Parts of it might be fascinating, you never know. We're all here because we're actually interested in municipal government, right?
so I don't know, does the Collins Center, do you guys want to come up and do your presentation and...
Yeah.
Sure. Let me introduce myself. I'm Bob Rooney. I'm with the Collins Center as an associate. I've been there just about 6 months, and actually did not kick off the Berry. What's that? Oh, yeah, you're messing me up. I mean, when I first saw the name, I was like, but so Monica Lamboy is from downtown Boston, and I guess she got caught in traffic. So I'm on a little bit of a learning curve with how the Collins Center presents these, but I have been in touch with your public works director and with the town administrator, and telephonically we've had a couple conference calls. So why don't we jump into this, and the part, any real hard questions, let me introduce the staff that is here. Why don't you tell us your background?
Sure. My name is Sarah Concannon. I've been with the Collins Center for almost 4 years. I've worked on a variety of types of projects, management work studies, budget work, and I also help with the capital planning. I'm the one that's sort of been on the ground with a lot of the different department heads. I've met a lot of them and doing some of the grunt work, I would say. So I have a good sense of the projects that made it into the plan, so if there are questions, hopefully I can answer them, and if not, I can always dig up the answers for you.
Hi, my name is Tony Turisi. I retired from local government in 2011. I had been in Andover as finance director for 32 years. I was in Worcester for about 5, and in Danvers for about 2. Since then, I've been working part-time with the Collins Center on a number of these finance projects. Many of them are CIPs. So I've been working with Heather on and the staff on debt service and capacity issues and projections in that regard.
But we, as a volunteer board, we appreciate your help. I mean, really, we all work full-time or are retired playing golf, and so, this is a project that is important to us, and to do it right and have your guys' assistance, we appreciate it. We've worked with Heather over the years on, we had a good starting point for you coming in. We had, through a committee had started the process, but we really appreciate your hard work and efforts, and, thank you.
Well, it's always interesting. Every municipality is different. We're engaged, and at least I am with about a dozen, and they range from large cities to small towns. And actually, I think you have it harder as a smaller town to try to find dollars to make that purchase. In a big city, it seems like you can always find a cubbyhole somewhere. So we recognize that, and as we go through this, if you have any questions, just shout out. I'll do I don't know the best way to.
I do have a primary question.
Sure thing.
This presentation is only being aired here, or is it being aired online, or is it being aired for the other?
So we're going to do it tonight.
Yeah, the meeting is being recorded right now.
Oh, okay.
Should be misbehaved. And we'll do it tonight. We'll have it at town meeting. We'll probably touch on some of it on the 8th too, at our public hearing.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll have the presentation. So if we come back, or whether someone else has it available, it's up to you. It's a little bit. I don't know the best way. Maybe so I'm not walking back and forth. Yeah. I'll just move this one.
Have that.
Everybody have a copy of that? So first of all, you know, we were looking at establishing a capital improvement plan, and the buzzword capital is, what is exactly a capital project? And you can see some of the, you know, some of the bullets there, what we use capital for, but generally you think of capital being your buildings, your vehicles, your equipment, and if you look there, you can use it to purchase land, and you can do feasibility studies, those kind of things. So all of these things were considered by the departments when we asked them what their needs were in terms of capital in the next 5 years. This is a 5-year plan, and certainly that first year, you know, we want to be, we as a town, a community, I'll put myself in your shoes, but you want to be most certain about the first year, because that's where you're gonna kick off the investments, and then each subsequent year is still a plan, and as we know, a plan is always subject to change, and so you want, you know, you can modify that. You know, a really good plan would not change over 5 years, but that probably tells you that there's not a lot going on in the town to make the plan change. Other things could drop out of the sky that it's not a fault of the study, it's just that times are changing, and so you adapt. So really a capital plan is looking at 5 years. I initiated one for the city of Newton when I was working there, and it started as a 5-year plan, and then there were a lot of buildings and schools involved, so it takes 5 years to get the plan and the design and then actual construction, and so the board was always asking, well, what's the next building after that? How do we know this is the right building to do? So we actually went out 20 years, because some of those assets take that long, 5 years just to get on the radar screen. But it's really subject to what the community is comfortable with, the dollar amount and the life expectancy of the asset. You can see here that you know, one university considers it 46 years. I think a lot of the banks, when you go to bond, they expect, you know, something to live at least, I say live, to exist, at least 10 years before they're going to allow a borrow against something. What you don't want is borrow 10 years on a 5-year asset, and then you're starting to run into arrears down the road. So why do you want to have a capital plan in the first place? You know, we're doing fine. You know, we pass the budget every year, but some of the, and I won't read all these to you, but you know, some of the most obvious ones are that it allows a transparency with the community and with department heads as to what projects are getting funded, and by making thoughtful decisions about when you're going to borrow, it then can lessen the impact on your operating budget, and that's really key. If you push some projects too far beyond their life expectancy, and you just, you know, it's a hope and a prayer, and it fails, now you have an emergency purchase or emergency repair, and it's hitting your operating budget, you know, really hard. It costs, you know, sometimes twice what it would have cost if you had, you know, planned it out, put it out for bid, those kind of things. Also, you know, what Public Works does could impact what the fire department's mission is, because if they have the road under construction and they need to get to a house, they need to know that, and they need to understand, you know, what the status will be in any given year. And so the coordination between departments are always helpful. The downside of not investing, I think, you know, I touched on is that, you know, if you had a small water stain near your roof of your attic, and you just say, well, you know what, it's just a stain, it's not hurting anything, the telltale sign is that you have a leak. And so the next time you get a gusher and you don't happen to be home, that thing could be running down all the way to the basement. Now, instead of just, you know, a $2 asphalt shingle to put up there, you have, you know, $1,000 worth of wall board to replace. So it's important to plan out your assets. There's not any magic here. It's nothing special about Barry as far as, you're not gonna make those assets live forever. And so by replacing them in a timely manner will save you money down the road. I was a public works commissioner in my previous life, and so sidewalks and tripping hazards and potholes and broken axles and all those things are very, very real. And they really did cost the city money when they had to pay claims because of faulty assets that they knew about. Very, just a quick overview, you know this probably better than anybody, but you know, it's quite, when you put it all together, the value of your assets is quite substantial. And close to 100 miles of road with 48 vehicles operating in and around the town, lots of IT software and hardware. You know, you have your own water supply, and again, we didn't even have that kind of thing in Newton. You know, we just had the pipes, and that was it.
The water comes from here, that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Right up to
So it really is significant, even for towns that are considered smaller, to take the time to look at a plan and critique the plan. This isn't, you know, we put forth our best effort with our experience in different municipalities and with talking with the town administrator and different department heads, but you know, a good plan is critiqued and discussed, and everybody feels comfortable taking the next step, and it's time to make hers. So our process, typically, like I said, I wasn't in on the ground floor here. I think it may have started back in February or March. But typically, you know, there's an interview process with all the key department heads, asking them to put down their needs that may, or you know, the town administrator or the board may not know about. But and part of the needs could be not just replacement of old stuff, it could be new things that we don't have in order to expand the program or make the community even better than it currently is. So those requests are filled out on different forms, and that's why Sarah was saying she does the grunt work. That really is not grunt work. It is a huge part of this whole process, is understanding the projects, understanding the need in order to prioritize those projects and say, you know, it falls above the line for the limited funding that we have. And then Tony, as he mentioned, he'll go into some of this financial analysis, but it's great to have your priorities and the total master list of projects, but until you know how much you have to spend, you know, the two won't make any sense. So he overlays the financial analysis, and then there is a sort of a cutoff where, you know, it looks like the town could fund these projects, and based on what we heard, this would be the priority that we'd recommend, and you'll see that. In summary, by category, it's interesting to see where these projects fall in their net worth. These are all new. This is not existing inventory. This is new investments on the order anywhere from 1.6 million all the way up to 10 million in FY21. And you can see that you know, vehicles and equipment rank right up there in buildings. Those two things really are very commonly the most expensive thing in any town to keep the shingle out, you know, open for business. IT is crept into the picture over the last 15 years, and so you can see that start to creep up as software and new hardware is really, it can save municipalities money with the proper investment. Instead of having a person, for instance, in a sewer environment, they can sit there and watch the pump, but because if it fails, it's a major catastrophe. or they could be at home, and if the beeper goes off, then they respond, and so you're not paying somebody all the time to do that. We've been joined by Monica Lamboya.
Hi, welcome.
We gave you a stellar introduction, and if you like, you can, she's the one that put a lot of this together and is really the lead on this project. So you can jump in here at any time. We won't go back though, because you'll probably contradict what
I think you just want to mention that these were requests and not the funding.
And then the prioritization process that we went through with department heads is based on some criteria that we tried to model sort of what the thinking process would be of executives in a municipality. If you're thinking about what should go first, what are the kinds of things that you try to balance and say, you know what, I like replacing the greens on the golf course for this reason, this reason, this reason, and it's gonna beat out some other projects. And one of them is to, obviously effectiveness and efficiency of government is key. The public who are paying the taxes, you can see that that's happening. And so those are always good projects to invest in. If they don't need that person to sit at the sewer treatment plant all the time, the town is willing to support a smart idea to make them more efficient. Looking at replacing something before it becomes a problem, replacing a roof that's leaking is a steward of good resources, and something that may create more revenue is also a good project, because that is contributing to the tax base. How it impacts the operating budget if it were to fail. So if you have one trash truck and everybody every week contributes trash, and the director says it's on its last legs, and we say, we're going to take a risk. It fails. Now what? So the operations now get better. Now we got pickup trucks out there. We got health issues. We've got other impacts that, we probably should have bought the new trash truck kind of thing. And then there's other policy areas that could be very important to the town, especially here with cultural, recreational, aesthetics. Go by your library, and that is should be in the Smithsonian. It's awesome.
It's a beautiful building.
Gorgeous. Obviously things that will promote the values and the mission that the departments have. If the town wants to stay rural and doesn't want development, okay, and that will be ranked very low. In other communities, they have a lot of vacant land that used to be industrial, and now they want to build on it, so that would rank very high. The environmental sustainability is alive and well in municipalities, and that's part of the efficiency, effectiveness of government. If everybody's replacing their lights at home with LEDs or energy efficient, and then town hall is still using the old mercury vapor lights that are hazardous in the environment, they're going to say, what's with this? Why isn't the town keeping up with the general population? Obviously, public health and public safety are really a key mission for any government, and so we expect those projects to gain points because of that. So, yes.
I think Tony's going to do these things.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll just run right in. Right.
Well, thank you. This slide lists some general funding sources that I'm sure you're all aware of that would provide kind of the resources to pay for capital projects. General fund debt, and if we had that in subcategories, we'd have excluded debt, exempt debt that you have, and then there'd be non-exempt debt. General fund pay-as-you-go. Pay-as-you-go, that simply means you're paying for it with current dollars. So it's not borrowed. You're paying for it within the budget period. Where that source comes from, it could be free cash, it could be stabilization fund, it could be current tax dollars. So there are a number of sources for that, but that's kind of the general category. Water revenues, very similar to debt of pay-as-you-go. it could be debt, it could be water bonded projects, it could be pay-as-you-go, but it's all funded from water revenues. And the water revenues could come from, further down, from grants, state and federal grants. Same, sewers, very similar, same as water. And then your grant and loan programs, this is just a couple of examples, but in many communities, particularly I think communities like yourself, significant amount of investment from those sources. That is the same. All right. Now, just to talk briefly about general fund debt. That means the stuff that's paid for within the tax code. Right now, all of your general fund debt is supported by debt exclusions. That means the tax rate for that year includes money to pay exactly what that debt service is going to cost you. So that amount, as you pay off the debt, that amount will start to decrease. In fact, I believe, there's a chart here that will be in your final report. Your exempt debt drops off dramatically in 2026, and then it's gone completely in 2030. You still have some bonds that you'll be issuing that are exempt. But again, that doesn't place an impact on your tax levy limit. It's funded with the exclusion. So the second bullet talks about, well, you currently don't have debt that is supported by a general fund, and we at the Collins Center feel it's really important for communities to recognize that there's nothing wrong with that, especially for projects that have a long-term impact. I mean, it's affecting future residents, and so there's a cost that should be shared among people over a period of time. So we're suggesting that there's a gradual increase in debt service, and these are just really rough estimates. But this is backed up by projects. So when you look at in the report itself, there'll be projects that specifically relate to the debt service. That debt service is a very rough estimate. Obviously, that depends upon when you work with your bond counsel, when you actually issue the debt, do you do short-term or not. We're trying to show here a scenario that shows the kind of the gradual impact, that still allows you to over that 5-year total, invest in 1.33 million in projects in that period. And again, as I mentioned, in this document itself, you'll see the projects that we're talking about. And I believe those. We're also recommending over that 5-year period of time, and you'll see projects that are just under $600,000 spread out over that period of time. That's pay as you go. In other words, things that you really shouldn't borrow for, or you want to undertake them now. They're smaller dollar amounts, and you want to look together at those two things, kind of funding your whole capital investment in the general fund. This is just a representation. Again, it's just a kind of an estimate of what your water enterprise fund debt could look like, given the projects that are either on the books now or being recommended in the CIP. The green area is your existing debt. So you can see that significant drop off in 18. As I mentioned, one of the benefits of this declining debt schedule is as you're investing, you're paying for that. It's built into your budget, into your revenue stream. but it's also declining, so as you have other needs, and there always will be other really critical needs that come up in the community, you'll have the capacity without major impacts in this instance, water rates. As you can see, what we've tried to do is smooth out the future with the high point in that green line. You know, so there are some bumps there in the early years, but you know, it's all between the 80 to a little bit over $100,000. 80 is your current amount, so it tries to implement a CIP schedule that doesn't have any dramatic impact on water users. I think we've tried to do the same thing in sewer, although there are less projects. Again, you see, and don't let the big spike get you concerned, because again, those are just estimates of debt. The debt can, you know, you can ban for 2 years, and that changes it. Again, the idea is to show that right now you're at a certain level on sewer debt, and then it really again starts to drop off. So depending upon what your plans are, and there are some costs in the CIP, you should be able to incur those actually without an impact at all on rates. And then, as I mentioned, significant amount of federal and state grants in this plan. You know, $5.5 million, and maybe Monica later you could explain some of those sources a little bit more. I won't go into the details on that, but they support quite a few of your projects, and they will be detailed in the document also. Just to kind of summarize where the investment is going, Bob showed a chart that had 25 million. Now, those were the requests that your departments identified as, from their perspective, you know, needed. The center has tried to kind of bring those down to a level that feels is affordable within that 5-year period. And this shows kind of the distribution of where that $10 million will be spent. It doesn't show the funding source. It's showing the total amount. The funding source will be identified in detail in the document. You're not out of breath?
No, kind of.
You kept under 80?
So, hi, I'm Monica Lambert. Apologies for being late. I have a great team, so everybody can do all parts of the project. But couldn't get out of the city, which speaks to the state level investment in infrastructure, right? Transit and such. So my apologies for that. So I know Bob and Tony have talked, but this $10.4 billion is really the result of many hours of sort of going over really significant needs that the community has in the water and the sewer and then your equipment, parks, those sorts of things, and honing in on what we think is a schedule of investment that is reasonable yet ambitious at the same time. You know, we know in the general fund debt area where we're going from $0 to $95,000, that's not a small number. But we think it's a good investment, and we hope you'll find the projects that we're recommending are good uses. But certainly, we're very much looking forward to feedback. So this sort of shows generally where the money is being recommended for spending. Roads and sidewalks, that's a lot of the Chapter 90 money. Sewer, water, both need significant investments. There's significant sewer projects for the treatment plant. Town facilities, some improvements to this building, a lot of energy efficiency. I understand it's pretty drafty in the winter around here, and those are wise things to do because it will save money in the long run. And then vehicles and equipment, and we really spent a lot of time thinking about the equipment needs and paring them back to what we really thought was the minimum. Your DPW and your fire department's really been running on fumes in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to have to invest, and they're costly pieces. There's just no way around that. But I think Bob really spent quite a bit of time talking to the public works director to get it down to what we thought was the minimum. Overall, this is sort of where the funding is. This is all funds by department. So you can see highway is significant because that includes the TIP monies for some major projects and MassWorks monies, and as well as your Chapter 90. Sewer and water, your next highest areas, those are all funded by the revenues, by the ratepayers. Then you can look at sort of rest fire. There's a couple of pieces of equipment. We ended up recommending used fire equipment just because the cost for brand new is so substantial. It's a wise idea. Not ideal, but you're gonna have to take what you have available. So in your plan are the specific projects. There's a table by project description, et cetera. So we didn't reproduce those on these slides. But happy to answer any questions. Overall, here's the by funding source. So general fund debt, 1.3 million. The pay-as-you-go, we said about 600,000. Water, sewer, and then what's hugely impressive and really kudos to the staff is over 50% of what we're talking about here is funded by grants. And this does not include your public safety building because that's in a prior year. So 5.5 million, looking at today, out 5 years, each year you're going to get more grant monies because people are definitely paying attention to that and going for whatever they can. So congrats for that. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the board? So your next step will be the final report will be put together with the projects and how long do you think that will take?
Well, you have the substantial draft. I know we're fixing some details. And
There are a couple of
trying
changes,
Okay.
but it won't take long at all
No.
unless there are other, changes that we need to talk about tonight.
Right. If there were any questions about the approach or concerns about what we're recommending, we can always, we're running a lot of very complex spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So we can always try another scenario if that's what the board would like us to do. We can certainly do that.
Because I think our next step, good, Sam.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When you finish,
I'll talk all night, so go ahead
okay.
before I.
I'm a citizen here, I'm not affiliated with the board, and I'm somewhat unsophisticated in this type of activity, because I'm an independent business owner rather than involved in town. We recently lost a great asset, which being the landfill, and the income from the landfill. Have you factored in any method of trying to go in a different direction and trying to recapture those funds which had been taken out of our bank account, so to speak, from the loss of that, I would say, easy to obtain, important asset that we have, and I think it was about $500,000 annually. So I don't know, I didn't see anything here.
The revenue ended years before they started this plan, Sam, so it wasn't even discussed with them. It was $537,000 a year, and we had actually had a plan. This board was great to work with. We knew years out it was going to end, so we had started 3 years out, actually reducing our budget by $100,000 a year, so we could kind of get ourselves, so when the landfill money left, we didn't really miss a beat. So, but we haven't discussed it with them because it's no longer even in our forecast here.
No, but it's still a loss that was there
Yeah.
that hopefully we'll try to recapture in some way by an alternate revenue source. So I don't know if you folks have thought about that at all. I guess thought about an alternate revenue source. Right now, we're only we only have discussing what we have currently. We had something that we were also comfortable with. And then we were able to balance the budget by $100,000 a year, which was admirable. However, there's still that loss, and our taxes still are on the high end. And several years ago, we were, I guess, we went up 16 or 17% in the taxes. And the Finance Committee was able to adjust for that wonderfully. However, I was just didn't know whether there was some discussion about bringing in new revenue.
Yeah, no, I understand that was definitely an impact to the operating budget. What I would say is our exercise was sort of different than that. We were looking at the assets that the town does have and how do we help you make sure that they're maintained as well as they can be, so you don't have significant losses of buildings or having to invest monies in emergency purchases. And hopefully by looking out multiple years, it'll help prevent something breaking down and having to respond in a crisis, which we know just costs money. You know, if you have to call a plumber in the middle of the night, it's gonna cost a whole lot more than if you had done it in advance. So our exercise was sort of different, although I definitely empathize with the challenge that the town has faced
But I think
in the loss of that.
To answer your question, Sam, one of the benefits of having this 5-year plan now is we know years out, like, hey, we have this project coming up. What grants, loans, other financings available for us? So while we won't find other tax revenues to replace the landfill, we're hoping to find alternate sources of financing and grants that we now know ahead of time. Instead of every year sitting down and saying, okay, what are we gonna buy this year? Let's get a truck, let's get this, let's get that. We now have a 5-year plan that we know on year 3, we can start looking now for funding sources for
No,
3
I
years.
think this is a wonderful
Oh, it's-
opportunity.
It's been a long time coming for us. The call center's been great
I'm
to
a
work
little,
with.
I know that we have television here, but I'm a little disappointed that maybe the heads of many of the departments within the town couldn't make it.
Has this been presented to the selectmen?
So the selectmen and Heather particularly, and the departments have been working with the Collins Center on putting the list together and the final list of projects to cut down, as you heard, from 25 to whatever we're at now. And so they've been involved. This is just to present it to us in the selectmen tonight, and then we'll kind of roll it out at our public hearing and town meeting, and kind of, it'll be hopefully a living working document in what, about a week or two? Once the final edits are done?
Sooner than that.
So, yeah.
Sure.
So then we'll be presenting it to more people and kind of coming up with a financing scheme here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our present selectman is here. I wonder if he has any input as far as this.
I do. I guess your hand went up before mine, but I had a I think this is great. We've had these things started and stopped and several times, but I had a question. You know, I talked to some of the department heads, particularly down at the Highway Public Works, and what I was wondering, I know it can be done, but I don't know if it's a really viable way to go about doing things on some of our shorter-term assets in those like in DPW. Is leasing a realistic way to look at this? It might stretch out the town's cash, but I don't, and I don't know what types of leases they have for a municipality, but I know how business leases on equipment. Is it a realistic thing to be thinking?
It sure is.
Okay.
You know, just depending on the type of equipment.
Right.
And how many, you also could rent. I mean, if it was just needed a couple months a year.
Now, I was talking, say, you had a 5 or 7 year life asset. I was talking, say, a 5-year type lease, and
Yep.
before it starts to fall apart,
Yeah.
you just move
And
it.
very often, there's an option to purchase to buy. And,
Yeah, right.
You can take it or leave it. So it certainly is. A lot of municipalities do that kind of financing. It does cost more than if you bought it, obviously, outright. I mean, they have to make money at what they're doing,
Right,
so
right.
you're paying that. But it does spread out the funding source, Monica. probably is-
There's been a recent change in the law that you can borrow for more than 5 years for some of the equipment that's
Okay.
longer lasting. And so where we could, we put in some 10-year schedules, debt schedules. So that really sort of eases the pain. And I think you'd have to sort of on a piece by piece
Right.
evaluate whether it made more sense to lease or whether you really, because the interest rates are still extremely low, whether it made more sense to go upfront over just a longer borrowing period.
Okay.
So we have leased in the past.
Yeah, okay.
We've leased vehicles in the past.
Yeah.
Some of it worked out, some of it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's great to have the option, you know.
I was just wondering if you had any data on, like, if you take the lease and, you turn them over at the lower maintenance costs over the life of the thing, you wouldn't have it completely a piece of junk by the time you're done with it. Do they balance out at all? Have you seen that, or? you don't know, that's fine too.
I think, at least in the municipalities I worked in, we stayed away from leases, to be honest, because
Okay,
of damage or other things that,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
hold it to a very high standard when you turn it
Yeah.
back. So, it seems like the nature of public works trucks is they ramble and roll and they're
Yep.
in
Okay,
emergency
gotcha.
situations, so, it may be the monthly or annual fee is low, but then you get hit with a
okay.
bill at the end and you don't have the vehicle anymore, so.
Our last leasing experience did not go well.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
Right, how many vehicles was it, Heather? The two police cruisers we leased, it
Yeah,
just
okay.
turned out to be a nightmare,
Yeah.
cost-wise.
I can see where it would, but I just asked. Thank you.
So Charlie, you're in favor, you like the system, you like
Well, I've
this,
always liked it. We've
concept?
had it off and on. People come, people leave. It's, oh, I favor this very much. I've always favored it.
So we could
It's hard to
probably,
get people to do what they're doing. It's not the most exciting job in the world.
so we could probably congratulate Heather for all her hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heather,
I would just say too, I know
It's
that.
one of the better things that have happened in this town.
Yes,
It's-
yes.
The
Especially
team
in the last 6 months.
knows well
Absolutely.
my stance on, when equipment has reached the end of their life and everybody's wringing their hands, or where are we gonna get the money? And the way I see it is it's an opportunity. And the reason is, we can start to look at, that's the way we've done business for the last 20 years. Should we keep doing it that way, or should we, maybe now's an opportunity to change the way we do business? Maybe we can get a piece of equipment that does multiple things rather than just one piece of equipment for each. Maybe we can leverage, relationship with neighboring towns. If, I know in Newton, we shared equipment between Needham, and, because we only needed a couple months a year, otherwise it's just sitting out there rusting away. So there's other ways to look. It's a great opportunity for creativity to come forth and say, and I think a lot of times people are busy doing what they're doing, and it's hard to stop them and say, think creatively. They're like, we lost a grader, we need a new grader, and it's like, well, do we really? Let's talk about that. So anyway, I think it's worth, especially the real expensive pieces. It's worth having that
But
conversation.
Bob, you did have that conversation with the DPW
Yes,
director, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, and I
what we
always
have
push
here
back
is
on-
what,
Yeah, I always push
Push
back
hard
on
on
what,
it.
this, the candy jar here on, do you really need it? And how badly do you need it? Because they'll hit you first with that $25 million wish list, and then you say, wait a minute, that's not gonna happen. Nobody can afford that, so let's talk in more detail.
So I guess we're kind of excited to see the final report, because I think this is something, and talking to Heather and the board members about it, is over our next couple meetings, is to look at if we could start implementing it, going into this fiscal year, how can we start this? So it's something we're excited to get jumping on, so.
so
Heather?
next steps would be get that finalized.
I got the brains that are gonna speak.
Monica, do you have the spreadsheet where it has like the requests for the next 5 years, that sheet?
The huge one?
The,
The realistic one, the $10 million one.
Oh,
So-
yes.
well, it was
that one.
in the PDF we sent you with the plan.
Okay, all
I
right.
can put it like 23,
Yeah.
actually. Do you want me to put it
Is
out?
that something we can copy and
That'd be
share
great.
today, or?
Yes.
That's always wondered, we didn't have that.
It
so.
was, the draft was sent to the finance
Mhm.
committee and the selectmen, so it's in that document if you want to look at that.
Okay.
And that has.
I do have it, yeah, she'll just.
I can put it on a
Pull
thumb drive
the
and
screen.
put it up
We
on
can
the
throw it
screen.
quick,
so we
that'd be
can-
awesome, yeah, it'd be nice to take a peek at that.
Just give me one second.
Anybody else want a water? No? We like some? Okay.
Yes, that sounds wonderful.
Couple drawers over, we just say it's the Heineken cooler, so we. Just kidding. Yeah, it's the nice.
Here we are. No problem, thank you. Glad we have enough. Thank you.
Right.
Do you have the PDF?
That's what I'm, yeah.
Trying to get on it.
That's
Do you
what
have
I'm-
it on yours, Bob? Do you want to just plug your laptop into it instead of trying to move it?
I always have trouble when I switch because it never sees the new one.
Do you want me quick, just makes a couple copies real quick?
Do you have a printed copy?
Of the phony?
Of the full, yeah.
I think it's four pages or 5 pages.
Yeah, that might be faster, that way we're going to take a,
Yeah.
take your own look, yeah.
You could,
It's like,
put it on the screen.
okay, well, let's try to put my, mine in here.
It's just the white one. Yeah.
Just the white one?
Yeah, the white one just connects it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
See what I mean? IT equipment becomes more and more
Yeah.
important.
Our IT director wants us just to get a television so we can
Should be
just
nice, yeah.
wirelessly. But that's what his thing is. This way it's like 50.
It's more than 4 pages.
No, I yours is smaller than you.
That's just the.
This one I gave was, no, the one I gave her wasn't this. It was the one that was.
Oh, the one-liners, okay.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
got it.
So it's just those.
Yeah.
This out of the-
Figure out, does a lot
Yeah.
more, I guess, but
Yep,
take it just one step.
sure, yeah.
That's the news, that's the start.
Is it story?
It is not,
No? Is that every starting at 7? I'll call it at 8, but I'm not getting anything.
But it's got windows down.
Do you want me to power this one off and repower it, maybe?
I heard a guy on the radio, Jim
Oh.
Polito, that's on a show in the morning on
Yeah,
WFT.
yeah.
He was a computer guy. He had it for a long time. And I said, he's not sure.
and Bob may have
10 is any
space on it
good.
because I thought he had his phone.
It's completely different. You have to start right from scratch.
He says a lot of people don't like it and a lot of issues. So they're not all this shit. My
You
10-year-old.
have to, it's like starting right from the beginning.
Yeah, right, I know. Before they were so expensive, and now,
So, yeah.
Oh, I know.
Just take the time to.
well, you know,
put the
they
name
give them
on
out for
it,
free
and
now, and it's like, but they're not big.
I
They're like,
see
so you
one
always
really
carry,
good.
yeah.
Something to-
This just proves nothing's easy. All the easy stuff's been done.
You never know, right?
No.
The first answer is yes.
Sometimes like if you plug in one way or the other and you
Yeah.
have to take it apart, start over.
Just smaller, just.
So I'll give you this guy. And then we'll pray. It works.
Probably. It's underneath the white one, yeah.
Because I've got some stuff outstanding and they keep promising it to me. So, you know, I think that the mayor's concerned that it will be back to him soon. There's some issues right now.
I'm really surprised to get.
That was great.
So,
He said he'd always get, you know,
that,
one
copy. So this is just one document? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it up?
There was a tie, there was a tie.
There was a- That's okay though. Yeah, so now you have your own copy. Yeah. These are like this, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Is it, and then shelf.
More drafts?
I'm gonna contact these tomorrow. I'll have a lot of you.
You know, as opposed to some other places, but, and did I send you?
So what you'll see is a series of 5 tables broken down by budget source.
All right, we can get back started here.
In the larger document, there's actually a little narrative for each of the projects. So it extends for 14 plus pages when you get there, but you'll be able to read that as well. So the 4 tables are by fund. So this first page that we're looking at is the general fund debt projects. So what you see is the first year of the plan, fiscal 17, we have $630,000 of projects for borrowing. These are significant costly needs that you have really right now. Cannot be avoided, we don't think. So the ambulance and associated equipment, the self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department, replacing engine 1, you know, sizable dollar figures, but you know, public safety is of paramount importance. The engine 1 figures for a used vehicle, borrowed over 10 years. The SCBA recommending for 10 years. Replacing 2 pickups and 2 one-ton dump trucks for the highway department. All equipment that's in very old and serious need. Then the second year, a Mack dump truck with a body and a plow. So what you'll see in a number of the pieces of equipment, I think it's going from a Vector to a Vector jetter. Here we're getting a Mack dump truck that has additional utility with a plow. You know, to the extent that a little piece of extra equipment would give you dual purpose or multi-purpose, that's the way to go.
I think they're gonna actually replace their existing 6-wheeler with a 10-wheeler, which will give them the ability to haul more material, and I think that they're contracting out a specific part of that right now, so they'll be able to bring that in-house, saving, I think it's 14,000, but don't quote me on that. So that's
The street sweeper, you know, I think it's definitely one that we wrangled over for a while, but everybody's sweeping the streets in the same months of the year, so it's hard to sort of share, although it would be great if you could figure out a way to do that, we just didn't see a way. Then 2019, the ladder truck, followed by another dump truck in 2020, and then a pickups in 2021. You know, I would say those, you know, 2020 and 2021, if you're in a situation where you have sizable free cash, you know, go for it as pay as you go, but right now, the way the numbers are looking, we thought those would have to be borrowed, but you know, you'll have better information. Each year, you're gonna refresh this plan, so you'll have better and better information as you go along. Then in the pay-as-you-go area, this is the cheapest because you're not paying interest on it, so we really did try to get as much as we could into the pay-as-you-go category as you could. So in the 2017, the vehicle for the building department, we're recommending getting a pickup truck. He also picks up trash at town hall and does some other things, and having a pickup truck would be beneficial to the inspector. Installing the roof barrier, the vapor roof barrier at the senior center, that's one of those things you have to do. It's going to save money in the long run because you're not going to do damage to the building. Infusion pumps for the ambulance, the ventilation system for Station 2, this is, and for Station 1, this is what will be improved safety for your firefighters because they run the vehicles inside the building for a little bit of time. It needs to have proper ventilation so people aren't breathing in all those fumes. And then the showers are vitally important because when they come back, they need to clean that stuff off of them like as soon as possible. The horsepower in the Pelton Field, 2 mowers for the highway, police cruiser annually. Here we're again not recommending borrowing because they have a relatively short lifetime, but getting yourself on a cycle where you're buying a cruiser a year, so you're not doing the whole inventory at one time, which then means they all age out at the same time. Let's see what else sort of stands out. Any questions about, put some money into the common, you guys have done such wonderful work there.
Looks great,
to-
doesn't it?
Yeah, it
60
really
years
does.
of
It really
planning,
does.
you know, finally we were able to pull it off.
Yes. And so here in this plan, we're putting, simply a little bits of money in it, so we can do something new each year, make it greater and greater. The roof on Old Town Hall, it should be the roof on
Town hall.
Town Hall.
Yes, there was some confusion, so all those old will be stricken from the final.
All the old shit.
I thought you said add it, and you said take it out.
Yeah. There's an interim project in 2020, which is the Miller's Beach. So $5,000 there. You have enough years to really design and plan for that, but here's a little bit of money to do things. Yeah, so that's that. Next page, 2 tables, water enterprise and sewer enterprise. So what you'll see in the water is, I would say the big ticket things is the work for the well number 3, upgrade well number 3. That's $1 million of work that needs to be done. But we're also the row higher, putting annual funding to investigate the system, decide what needs are in the pipes. Statewide, communities are way under investing in their water and sewer infrastructure by billions of dollars. So by doing sort of an annual investigation and then identifying what the priorities are for the next year, it's going to help get you on top of it so you don't have major leaks and losses. In the sewer, the big project is in 2021, the work on the wastewater treatment plant, 1.2 million there. What's great for both of those big ticket items is that the state has a loan program, which is 2 years with no payments, and then it's a very low interest program, and a number of communities are getting grants back so that they're getting part of it forgiven. We did not assume you would get any of it forgiven, so what we've projected is full payment. But hopefully as you get closer, that we'll be able to work with the state to identify. And that's the backford generator I was talking about. Then the other great grants and loan projects. So the first row is a new generator for the Council on Aging, which will allow that building to be a shelter, emergency shelter. So we're assuming that a NEMA grant will fund that. That would only be going forward if the grant was received. The next row down is your Chapter 90 monies, where we backed out equipment that's Chapter 90 eligible, that's right below. So some of the pieces of equipment, like the excavator, Highway 12, will be taken out of your annual allocation. But we tried to make sure there was, except for the last year, at least half of the annual allocation. Now, something looks funny there, Cheryl. Why is it down to 30?
Well, because in 2021, assuming no growth in the Chapter 90 allocation,
Right.
we had to dedicate $400,000
$400,000
to reconstruct Mechanic Street.
Right.
So hopefully there will be growth in the allocation. We can assume more than $439,000, but for now, we will use that as a conservative estimate. So that's why it's so low.
Right. The 2 big projects, Mechanic Street at 1.4 million requires a $400,000 match, and Williamsville Road at 1.2 million requires a $200,000 match. And then the water mains in Southbury is dependent on a Mass Works source grant. So those are projects. Again, in the actual plan, you'll be able to read a little bit more. And we wrote it to the general public so that they would be able to learn all these really interesting projects that are going on in town.
Any other questions about those projects?
No, but I
Some good
imagine,
stuff in there.
it is, and I imagine, stuff we've been talking about for years, especially the
Yep.
highway and fire department have just been
Yeah.
so large that, we've kind of been fortunate that we've been making them last for this long. But, so how do you handle, so the unexpected stuff, we would just kind of plug in and say, hey, this just popped up, can we try to do this next year, the following year?
Hopefully, as you have a CIP over an extended period of time, you'll have fewer and fewer emergency
Yeah.
things pop up that you can't absorb into the CIP in the out years. But yes, that's what we would do. So this plan, like Bob said at the beginning, the most detail is in fiscal 17, because that's the next year. When next year comes around, you know, Heather will go through this process again, update the out years, add, you know, 2022. So new things that might pop up should be added at that point, and reprioritize. Some projects might have to come off to accommodate something that had a catastrophic failure or something like that, you know.
Any questions, any further questions, or? Anybody else? Sam, anything else, or?
No.
Ellie, have any questions? Charlie, you good?
Thank you.
Actually, this is the investment
Kathy,
schedule.
Heather?
No, I just want to thank.
Can't believe we have this many people at a finance committee meeting. I'm just kind of thrilled.
Collins
Usually
Center
us and ourselves.
and, everyone at the Collins Center,
Yeah.
everyone here was great to work with.
Yeah.
It was like they knew Barry, like when we talked about a project or something, they knew exactly what project it was, the location, and it became very intimate with the town.
Okay, we do appreciate it. This is something we wrestled with years, you know, ourselves trying to come up with, and as you know, it's just as hard to kind of get everyone together. It's like herding kittens to get all everyone's
Yep.
projects
Yeah.
together, and we do appreciate you guys doing this.
One thing before I lose you, this is the annual investment, total capital investment that we're proposing. So if you look, except for fiscal 17, every other year is at $245,000 a year. So you will be able to do all these things at a tune of 245. Yeah, I will say, we do try to challenge communities to grow a little bit each year, and so maybe next year, when you're working on this, maybe you'll, you know, throw a little bit more in the out years as you get accustomed to it. But we tried to, you know, cover a lot of territory, and I think in a pretty small and reasonable amount of money.
I think what you found, our department has been great in managing their departments. I mean, they really have for years. We haven't asked them to do more with less. We've had the level funding just creep up every year. We've been fortunate. We've gone through a lot in Barry over the years, and we haven't had to shut anything down. The senior center still runs, the library goes. We've been able to make some investments. The common project's been big. We had the roof project at Ruggles Lane. We've had a lot going on. What kills us is what you're hearing in every town too. It's just the school budgets are, you know, out of whack. The school funding formula, we have the school here in Barry, the Seven Hills Foundation, is just killing us. So every year we always say, this will be the year we can invest, and every year the school comes in with, you know, we hope for 5, they ask for 15%. So, but we do appreciate it. This is great. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll be back to Boston. Glad those days are over.
I feel for people who do it on a regular basis.
So I live in Holden, so central Mass.
Oh, that's
We have
cool.
team meetings in Boston. They're like, you can get there for 9. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I can't.
No.
Unless I leave at 6:30, that's not happening. So over the next couple of days, Heather, I will make those changes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. If there's anything
So
else,
thank you very much, sir.
Thank
why
you.
don't you, I won't start working on it until Friday, so if you have other things you see, and I'm gonna do another review. I saw a couple of things.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to do this.
But let me know.
Well, depending on the school.
Depending on how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take those things that you put Band-Aids on.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay,
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy the, warrant.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha.
Take a brief bathroom.
Yeah, we'll take actually a quick recess here.
So,
Recess.
54 articles?
Take a quick break. 20s,
Yeah,
most of them, 19 through the end are probably stuff we can take off, because we're gonna be addressing it through the
It's capital.
I can,
capital budget.
yeah, do you want me to identify the ones that are on the capital plan?
Yeah,
We're
that-
on the other.
Yeah, okay.
I thought, I just handed you one, Charlie.
You did?
Yep, it was in the.
Yep.
Oh,
Right below it.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, why don't we cross off those first? You wanna go through and read the numbers off that are in the...
What are we crossing out there?
The requests that are covered in the capital plan already. So we might as well get those off of here if we're gonna try to address
Those are
it.
the ones we want to keep, so we follow the capital.
The other way, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe eventually we could do a capital planning article.
For the ones, yeah.
Right, this first year.
Makes sense.
So 17 needs to stay on. It's not included in the capital plan. We did discuss it during the process, but we're
We've
required
talked
to
about
do
this
it.
for years, right?
Yeah, we have to do it every 3 years.
That's a pay-as-you-go.
The GASB 45, it's a 3-year audit that we're required to do.
Mhm.
So that's between 5,000 and 7,000. Number 18 is on the capital plan. It would be, one of the projects was to insulate at the senior center,
Mhm.
because they have a lot of heat loss.
Yep.
Number 19 is in the capital plan.
Is it for the plan for this year, or was it a year out? I know there was 2 years of them.
Yeah.
Nordig was definitely this year. That was,
I think you're right.
to extend the parking lot there.
Okay.
It was 2 years in a row.
2 years, okay,
Yes,
that's why.
yeah. So they have additional, I think, 10,000 this coming year.
Yep.
The cemetery is not on fiscal 17, but it was discovered today. They thought they had a piece of equipment that could be extended. It's not useful, so they are gonna need
They are gonna need that?
a lawnmower. So we're gonna have to address that with Collins Center to put an additional 8,000 in for fiscal 17. The topographics, that's gonna be in their budget.
Okay.
They're gonna do that every year,
All right.
5,000 every year into
So we
their
can put that in
budget.
their budget, take it off here?
Yeah, yeah, so that will come off. Adams Cemetery, they're gonna hold off on that article. The self-contained breathing apparatus,
That's on
we
there.
need to keep that, so engine 1 is in the capital plan, we need to keep that. The fire truck, with fire engine, or pumping truck. The request was submitted for $850,000 from the fire chief. It's, and during the process of the capital plan, we could only use, or buy a used one.
Yeah.
So for 300, and that is for fiscal 19.
So 19, that's out.
So that one's out, the warrant, yeah.
Mhm.
Right, that will have to be, yeah,
Added another year.
right. Based on all available funding and loan lending, we can't afford it for fiscal 17. The police cruiser, the capital plan only identifies 1 per year, and there was middle for 2.
Mhm.
This last year, I think it was, we increased the fleet by 1. So that will be a decision we have to make. If we add the additional cruiser, it's not included in the plan. It's an additional
That's the
35,000.
All right.
I think at this point, where we actually have a plan, we should
Just
try to stick to it as opposed to going against it
Yeah.
already.
Mhm.
So are both cruisers staying, or we're taking one
I'll
off?
take one off
I'd
for
take
one
planning
off.
purposes.
So we'll remove 27 then?
Night vision binoculars.
I do.
That
That was this year.
this year.
Yep.
Okay, for 3,000.
Do you want mine, Heather?
I'll share with Charlie.
That's okay.
The portable breath test machine, that it was not on the capital plan.
We should take that off and then try to address it.
The library technology upgrade was not included in the plan.
Is he including it,
Adam.
is Adam including it in his money he's asking for every year, or?
Yes, so this would speed up that, he had a 5-year plan,
Mhm.
so that would speed up that process.
Okay, but he's gonna address the library one in his,
It's in the 5-year plan, so it's not in fiscal 17,
Okay.
but it's in
it's in
within
there.
5
So we
years.
can
So it is in the fiscal,
Yeah.
the plan.
So we take that off of there.
In his
At some point.
5-year budget plan.
Oh, his
Yeah,
plan, okay.
for the
So we're-
So that comes off?
That would need to come off. The ambulance is included, that's 210,000.
Did he get a number on
Yes, from the
Yeah.
state bid.
Oh, he did.
It was, I think it was like 209 and some odd dollars.
that? Fantastic.
The infusion pumps, that's the 6,000, and originally it was gonna be, I think, 6,000 apiece, but
Mm.
Bill Dino, the LOS coordinator, was able to get a quote for purchase 2 for 6,000. This is something that they need, and that's in the plan. The Mack 10-wheel dump truck. That is
Next
fiscal
year.
18.
So that comes off this.
Correct, if you want to, if the plan, if you're sticking with the plan.
Yeah.
We spent the
Yeah.
money, the time, the
Spend the
effort.
money,
yeah.
spend,
Yeah.
yeah, stick with the plan.
The capital, request for the dump truck, sorry, pickup truck with plow, that was 17, so that can stay on.
34.
Yep.
Oh, so what's
No,
23
you're
on?
on. So you're on, right, so stay on. So
The second pickup truck goes in for 17,
the 2 trucks with plows,
yes.
the third one we,
How much of those? That's doing,
50,000.
the 2 of them? Or-
50,000
He
was for 2.
requested 3.
Hmm?
There's 3 requests for them,
Oh.
there's 3, but the capital plan has 2.
So we get rid of one, number 3, no, Article 36, right?
yep.
One money then for,
Sewer or
no, because
something?
one was sewer and
Yeah.
one was water and one was highway.
Right.
So there's one for each department. So
So
it
I'll
might be
say,
on a different,
Okay.
So there's 3
right,
pickup
so
trucks?
it's on
True
for
water.
Water
Yeah.
is in for 17, sewer.
There's no truck for sewer.
there's 2 waters.
I think that's because they put it in their budget, right?
There was
Yep.
a truck for the building inspector somewhere.
That, there was no article for that, but that's something we should add to the warrant, have this left an open warrant, add, that's on the plan. It's just for a used truck, because a lot of time if the highway, they're treating the roads, don't have, we can't come and clear the parking lots as quickly as, employees and people coming in, so George could do that.
Just, we're keeping 3 trucks on then, so 36 is staying on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They reach 50 grand.
And each one of them is 50,000?
Yes. Yes. The one-ton dump truck, which is next.
Seems to me if we're buying,
That's
if we're buying
60.
3 pickup trucks at once,
Get that at
yeah, much
They
better.
have replaced 2 trucks for 50 grand.
Yeah, they have 2 trucks for 50
50, yeah.
Yeah.
in 2017. It can't be new trucks.
Nice 2 pickups, yeah,
HWY 8.
Oh, we have to pay that.
Meaning, highway was gonna do one in 17 and one in 21. That's the two.
So highway is 2, it says,
But it says 50,000 in there.
It's 50,000
for
for
two
two
or
or
for
one?
Yeah.
That's water.
Just
So
two.
water,
So water and
so what
highway,
you're saying, so we're doing 1 truck now, 1 truck later.
right,
And there's
Right.
3 here because there's 2 on the capital plan and 1 in somebody's budget, that we're taking out of their budget.
right.
Sorry.
36
Took us
comes
30
off.
minutes to figure out.
The one-ton dump truck with plow, that's on the plan for 17. So keep that.
You may want to have them edit this plan to say replace pickup truck with plow, so that you see 1 this year, so you don't think you're doing 2 this year and 2 years out. It was just read,
Right,
take the questions
that's
out.
good.
Brian wasn't gonna let you use it.
I,
He won't let me use it either.
Okay. Sorry.
Chucking spears.
The mower was on the plan
Yeah.
for 17. And the next one, the roadside mower was on for 2022.
So that
That's
comes
off.
off with this one.
Yes. The street sweeper is on for 18. For used street sweeper for 82.5.
He was talking chapter 90 monies for that, right?
Some of the equipment was backhoe, loader, I think, chapter 90, an excavator, chapter 90 for street sweeper, I think.
So the street sweeper comes off.
Yes. The hydraulic excavator is on for 17, but to use chapter 90 funds for that. So we remove that. Right. Solar array, that was something the water department put in the request for. We've been trying to work with a company to look at putting solar in the DPW garage roof. To look at both options of purchasing the system or getting a payment in a meter credit. And the water department would like to purchase it, but we need the funding for it. We don't have it on our capital plan.
I mean, something we talk about doing in the future, like putting it on somewhere if it's a good deal for us.
I mean, we can always do where they install it, they own the system, and
Yeah.
we get the net meter credits for it.
what was the price to install?
Around 200,000.
So we're removing 40? I mean,
I'd say for now. Yeah, until
42?
we're a better
Two,
plan.
yeah.
The easement for the solar, that next article, is if they own the system, it would require an easement.
So you took that off.
We would want to keep that if we wanted to
So
do the
42?
alternate, if we want to do a net meter agreement.
Right.
with them,
42's gone, see.
we need to-
42, okay, so we'll leave 43.
42,
43
some of them.
stays.
43 stays.
43 stays, 42
Because they
goes.
need an easement regardless.
I don't know if this is appropriate time or not. I brought it up to the selectmen, and I brought it up to lots of people. And I don't know whether the towns can negotiate like individuals can. Maybe the towns are limited because of some regulation, but I made a suggestion that the town allow a company, well, first of all, bring companies into bid, but a company to put their own facility on the sewer department, their own solar photovoltaic cells on the sewer department. That company would obtain the investment tax credit, which is 29-30%. They would also receive the SREC for that particular project, and they would charge the town as much as we can ask them to negotiate on that particular building. Then they would go to the Public Works Department and do the same thing. They would get the investment tax credit, they would get the SRECs, they would charge the town a rate that we would accept, hopefully. And they would get all the benefits. Then we would go to the public safety building. At that building, it would be different. They would get the investment tax credit. They would get the SRECs. However, the town of Barry would receive electricity at no charge for a period of 25 years. We'd be putting money in their pocket on 2 buildings, and we'd be balancing out on the 3rd building, and I thought that might be an interesting negotiating point, but I don't know if, see, you can do that in the private sector.
Yeah, we have to operate differently.
But I don't know if you could do something like that in the public sector, and that's where I'm a little unsure, so, but I want to bring it out anyway. so
That's a good idea, something to talk about. as we
So
go
that people
forward.
can think about it.
Thanks.
So 44, something's a Sam's Way.
So the rest are not money articles. There's Sam's Way that was submitted by Jim Caruso.
By who?
Jim Caruso. Jim Caruso.
Okay.
Friendship Road, that was a citizen's petition. Accept that as a public way. Cutler Road, that one has to do with.
Where's Winship Road?
It's
Up by Tony Lucas's.
Okay.
Yeah, that road that goes down there.
Lanning property and Warren's
Potential.
property.
Weird roads.
That has to do with the property that the town auctioned off. There's a little piece on the corner of
Yep.
that property. So, and the town wanted to keep that piece that's in the town's, we're just gonna make it part of the public way so they don't have a problem with driveway access. The real estate disposition, there's 2 parcels. One is Broad Street and one on Wawinet. They're both town owned.
Walnut? Where's that?
It's, I think there was at one time a trailer on
Oh, caught on fire?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No.
why the frame's still there, that's why the shed's still there.
Okay.
I don't think it's big enough for a building lot.
No.
At the
No,
time,
it's
they
a
wouldn't
small
sell it to
piece.
either one of the neighbors.
And a butter is interested in
Yeah.
it, and they inquired.
Okay.
This-
Next one is, back in 2012, we voted this. Faye and I had to go back, we were like, which town meeting was that? And I couldn't believe it was 4 years ago.
Remember
Was it
this?
really?
Yeah. So we went through that whole process with Hampshire Power,
Yep.
and then that whole application was not approved by DPU. But there's another company that has been very successful, it's called Good Energy, and with a lot of communities that have signed on, and they saved a lot of money for their residents. So far, though, I forget what the rate was that they last went out to bid. Or was. So that, we have to re-vote it and vote it without Hampshire Power.
Okay.
Next one is a citizen's petition. And these next, all relate to, the remaining relate to bylaw.
Which one's Article Frame? Where house is this? What house is this?
Which one, Dave? Number 50 or 49? 49, there's someone in town who,
Is it residential they want to do a business in?
yes, they want to put a gallery,
Where's it located?
art gallery,
Right up
I think it's
right on the
Yeah,
corner
on
of
West
Pleasant Street.
Alright. What's 50?
The rest I can't really speak a lot to, I think on the planning board, but they've
We'll do
been
that.
working with Jim Baird on some code updates and solar regulations. So to keep with the plan, we would need to add a few. So we add the building department's truck,
Alright.
to add the exhaust system for fire station
Fire
1 and
station.
fire station 2. And I think that was all of the ones that we didn't receive requests for articles.
do you guys wanna do them up for the next meeting and then do one and get them on here? Like you'll kind of modify this.
What was the third one? The building department truck, the exhaust systems, station 1 and 2, and what was the other one?
I think it was,
What is it?
there's some small amounts for, like, let's see. It was, the bandstand
Yeah,
and the horse barn at Felton Field.
okay. We can go through them, that's fine.
So when you do this over, the ones that are out, you're gonna change the numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so when, this can go, when we get the new one.
Yes.
Good.
Tell them to take that old horse barn down, didn't it? I grew
Yeah.
up in Downfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
So, as far as the capital plan goes, I guess the next step's gonna be, at our next meeting, so between now and next Wednesday, I'll talk to you, we have to talk to Nancy, and them about coming up with, okay, here's what we're gonna come up with cash to pay for, here's what we're gonna finance, here are the terms, estimated terms for 5 years, I'd imagine, I don't think we're going more than that for a lot of this stuff. Here's what it's gonna cost us each year, so that we can put that into the budget. That will affect everything else. So that will affect the school budget, that will affect department head budgets, everything that we have. So for the next meeting, let's chat, let's try to come up with, here's what the estimated numbers are, plug them into the budget, so we're ready to discuss this at our next meeting. So when we go through everything, we'll have it up there.
Yep.
I did, when Collins was developing the whole plan, we had a discussion about 17, because at this stage, in our budget stage, that we have so much allocated for maturing debt and interest.
Yeah.
That for any debt burn, we allocate free cash towards, and for just 17, and then going forward, we start putting it into our
The budget,
operating
yeah.
budget, the pay-as-you-go.
So it'll be option, we'll have all the options kind of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to, we did most of these, do you want to go through real quick? Because what we'll do is we'll have to vote on these in the next couple weeks,
By the 6th.
or the 6th.
Mhm.
So we have, do you want to just go through them real quick so people can, what do you guys want to call tonight and kind of read these over? And
We're
All
gonna
the
have-
ones that we generally can do, you know, we could vote on.
1 through,
The ones that are always there
Yeah,
every
I think
year.
we should just do them all at once.
make it easier on her to
Yeah.
take the notes.
That way we know what we've done, what we haven't done, if we do it all at once.
yeah, that's
In my
fine.
opinion.
Just get it over with.
And most of these are pretty, the snow and, snow removal,
It's just easier
on
to
this
do.
budget, sewer enterprise budget.
person.
The only other article on here that I think probably needs,
It's easy to do the
Actually,
ones
there's
that
really
we do the
nothing.
same.
there's nothing
Yeah.
different on here, it's just dispatcher, the assessor's valuation.
That's the dispatcher one.
Yeah, the old, okay, so for fiscal 16,
You know?
that budget is.
This is number
under-
9.
And then regional dispatch allocation is over.
How much is it?
I believe it was 30.
I don't remember off the top of my
I
head.
think you're right, I think it's like
I think it
30-ish.
was 30 something, 30s.
So that's, Article 9 is gonna be for this fiscal year. They were short. They had, folks leave and they had overtime expenses,
So it
I
was
guess.
for
For
2016.
this fiscal year, yeah, that's what Article 9 is gonna be for.
Mhm.
That's the only odd one on here. Snow removal stuff, that's the only. Yep, we can get up to explain that one, on this budget,
I think everything else is
standard.
standard.
Now, on these snow removal accounts, did they go over?
They did, it was a
Did they?
total of 26,000 something.
When we
So
had
not as
such
much
a,
as
Those
last
last couple,
year.
those last
Yeah.
couple spits
Yeah.
there.
Last year it was 155.
I
Did-
did 55,
that's why I thought maybe
68
it
last
would be
year.
in the bud, you know, stay right in it.
It's just 26,
Yeah,
171.
mild winter up until the end.
Yeah.
Because it looked like we were gonna, you know, they were.
Looked like
we're
we
gonna
got
be
out of
over
it,
all,
didn't it?
and-
Yeah. That didn't work.
Okay, so 7:30 next week, next Wednesday night.
7:30 next Wednesday.
Sam has a question before we go.
No, I didn't think this was.
You mentioned earlier,
I saw this, and this
Huh?
one,
I get it.
hearing people
Seven
say,
Hills
I'm not sure that's
Organization.
it, is it?
Yeah.
Excuse me. I didn't think so.
doing a job on
I
it.
don't see how they can.
On the school budget, yeah.
Yeah. And
And it's not necessarily the seven, just to throw this in, they are doing a number on our budget, but it's really the way the state funds,
Yeah, the state.
mandates and funds the program.
And Charlie and I have had some discussion in regards to the Seven Hills project.
Yeah, I mentioned it to you. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it doesn't, you know, and I know that Harvard College does a job on Beavis Hill. I'm aware of it. And I don't know if there's a way that we could somehow contact the state or however.
Well, it's, the way it works is they're following the funding formula that they use, so they're following the law on how these kids are paid for. You know, it needs to be a legislative change. It's not a payment in lieu of taxes like a, you know, college would give to a town. It's a different
Yeah.
function.
But there's been talk about the Seven Hills organization taking the category of children and arranging the category so that they can eat into our town budget. And maybe the category needs to change because it may not be a school, maybe it's a hospital, or maybe it's another category where they can't eat into this town budget. And Charlie has a pretty good handle on it.
I don't know about that.
But it's a legislative fix that has to be done. It's not just us, it's Devereaux School in Rutland, it's, you know, every place that they build these
Harvard's got
homes.
one.
Yeah, so it,
Templeton Hill?
yeah,
Templeton's got
it's a statewide fix, it's not just us.
Yeah, what I
Unfortunately.
mentioned, Dave, was, and I guess we both learned, I thought about taking a shot at local mandates, but even if they said it was, it still has to go to, it might just give us a little better leverage, you're no better than me.
It's
But
gotta be a
even
legislative
if it does, it still has to go into the legislature.
Do we have any influence in the legislature? Or
I
I
think
mean, your
so.
rep and senator and those folks. It's not just, the good part is it's not just us.
No.
It's almost every community
Yeah,
that,
Yes,
statewide
yeah.
thing.
So-
Maybe we need to join forces with all the communities and come in mass and petition the legislature to address these things, because this is eating small towns up. So I don't know how to go about doing it, but I just wanted to bring it to the surface.
Yeah, we are pursuing it. We are talking to, you know, like Senator Goby and Connie Berthium and those folks about it. I know Rutland and have talked to Kim Ferguson and, you know, Ann has that town too, so,
I
yeah.
don't think the people.
Charlie has a very good handle on
Yeah.
it.
Run the program, just, I forget that.
So one of the biggest reasons to see this up, Sam, is because it consumes, especially for testing, this, you know, the national testing, the state testing, it consumes our resources and our special ed resources who have to go there. Now, they have a school that is accredited, but the state requires our town school or our regional school to go there and provide these services.
Mhm.
It's mandated by the state, it's not something that,
Right.
I mean, and it's mandated in every town that it happens. That's what's consuming the resources, so it's really, like Dave said, it gets back to that state formula.
Yeah, you want to know, this is just my observation, and some people have heard me say it before, but one of the things, this is a pet peeve with me on this issue, but, you know, we have an income tax and we have property tax, and I seem that it be ingrained in my mind, maybe if I could be wrong, but, you know, Health and Human Services, we pay an income tax to fund. We pay a property tax to fund services we provide here in the town, and it, you know, I'm not sure the people running the regional agency for some of these places have figured this out, but I wonder if somebody somewhere else hasn't figured it out, and it's a very devastating thing to the taxpayers, because we're being taxed twice for the same thing. And I think, you know, that's just, that's kind of a peeve of mine on some of this stuff. You know your income tax isn't gonna go down because the people are here.
Yeah,
But your property taxes are gonna go up.
yeah.
And I just think it's just a shifting of the burden. I'm not sure the people that came up with the plan even probably put this together, but that's what's happening. And I think we can all agree on that. I find it very troublesome just because just moving things onto the towns, it really is the state's responsibility.
Exactly, well, the same thing with the school, the regular school budgets.
I know, right ahead with our
Mandated
assessment.
things from the state, and then they don't.
Yeah, and then we got this assessment coming in, the enrollment's dropped, and we're only going one way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's up.
So I need a motion to adjourn for
Motion to adjourn for
next Wednesday. No,
next
Saturday.
Wednesday.
I got a couple of questions.
7:30.
David.
Sorry.
Did the school budget change at all? Have they dropped?
We haven't gotten anything new from them
Nothing,
since then, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then I just had a question. Advertising for the new fire chief and that.
Uh-huh.
Advertising at the same wage that Joe's going out with?
Yeah, that's how that.
Is that's not usually normal when you bring somebody new
It
in.
wasn't advertised at the same wage.
No, but it is.
No, yeah. The
Certainly.
It
job
said
posting-
70, I read it,
No,
72,000.
no, the job posting said, a DOQ, salary commensurate with DOQ. And during the interview process, when we spoke with each applicant, and
Mhm.
Charlie can attest to this, is there was a brief introduction about the position, and the only statement about 72,000 was that this current fiscal year, the fire chief salary was 72,000. Not that they would be paid that.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking,
Mhm.
why would you bring somebody fresh on the board for the same salary as your chief that's leaving, that's had all the years here?
Yeah.
Usually they
And he's
need
an
it a
EMT too,
lower.
right?
Correct.
Yeah. That's very important for first responder.
That was a requirement of the job posting.
You know, a lot of the chiefs they interviewed too were very successful in obtaining grants for their communities, which we haven't been to our fire department. We've been lax in doing that. So that's what we're looking for too, is someone with experience and actually bringing resources into the town.
I'm just looking, at the business world and that. You never bring somebody in at a low,
Well, it's,
You
Lower.
don't unless the experience is.
unless they're better,
Unless they
right?
get the experience.
at least for
In this
you
town,
give them a trial.
See, years
6
ago,
months or a year,
with
and
with the strong
pick
chief
them up.
thing, it was valid. We were developing, we was doing inspections all the time. These days are gone. It's just not there anymore. It's not fiscally responsible to continue it.
All right, so we adjourned? Now we adjourned.
No, we-
Has the